Hey, everybody. It's Monday, the last Monday of November. Can you believe it? Tomorrow's December. My name is Tina Frank, and I have a beautiful co host next to me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bonnie Violet, and I'm so glad that you're here for our final episode of season one.
Wow. I can't believe the season's almost or over, I guess, over in like 1 hour. That's crazy.
Yes. Yeah. It's been 3 months.
Wow. Time flies.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
It is pretty wild. So, how was your weekend? Did you get to go to Oakland for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, my weekend was cute. I ended up going to Oakland and hanging out with a couple of friends. And yeah, it was really nice. I feel like it's been a while since my friend is all into all the zhuzh of it all, or the
Oh, that's
formalities.
awesome. Yep.
And so it was kind of it was really nice. It's been a while since I've kind of been around in that scene. So it was nice to kind of just sink into that sort of environment. And it was just super sweet, super tender kind of day. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
How about you? How was yours?
I had an amazing holiday. I'm blessed. Most of my family got together, although we did keep it small, trying to be conscious of some of those things. I normally host, and this year my daughter hosted, and I survived. It was fine. It was really, really weird.
She's
but it
right
was
here,
really
so
nice.
watch. She's right here, so watch what you say.
Yeah, she wasn't the one who hosted. She
Oh, it
wanted to
wasn't
host.
Charlie.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
Charlie
got
didn't
you.
get to host this year.
Mm,
Chantel and Mark hosted this year, but it was nice. We missed Charlie and her family because they couldn't be there. So I'm
yeah,
grateful though that she got to spend time with her in-laws also. So, but yeah, so it was awesome. It was awesome. Like I said, really low key. It was fun. It was just weird for us because we're usually the planners, and Monday before the holiday you do this, Tuesday before the holiday you do this, and we didn't have to
hmm.
do any of that. So it was just really kind of weird
All
and
right.
and nice. I will say.
Yeah, you just had to show up.
Pretty much. They didn't even let me help clean up. I offered it numerous times, and like,
Hmm.
no, no, we have a system. I'm like, okay.
All right.
So
You're like, I get that. I get that because I
I
have a system too.
Yeah. Yes, and
Yeah.
the food was fantastic. The company was amazing. I just love it when we can all get together. So
Mhm.
I'm spoiled.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of interesting how yeah, we both had maybe different experiences than we've had in a while.
Yeah,
All
that's true.
all thanks to probably COVID.
Uh, yeah, mostly thanks
Or
to COVID for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it ended up being kind of sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing to me how um, different how events, I don't know, traditional events can be so amazing no matter how it's all put together. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The tradition of Thanksgiving is amazing in itself, but it's awesome to me to hear how other people celebrate, how they do things, different dishes that people have
Mhm.
based on how they've grown up or where they've come from. I just really enjoy all of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. Anyway. So,
Mm.
what did you do the rest of your weekend? I know you went to Oakland just on Thanksgiving Day. What did you do? You had a long weekend. Did you do anything else fun?
Yeah. Well, so tomorrow actually is World AIDS Day.
Oh, that's right.
So once a year they kind of recognize people who have been living with and have passed from HIV and AIDS. And so the church glide that I'm involved with, they actually reached out to me and asked me to say the prayer. So I was able
Oh,
to kind of say the opening prayer for both of the services on Sunday, which was really cute. Of course,
that's awesome.
I got all up in my head. It was so funny. They asked me at first and I was like, no, what, why, no, no. And I'm like, girl, why wouldn't you? Are you
Yeah,
kidding me? And so it ended up being a really great, opportunity just to, it's not that big of a deal. You say a few sentences, you set a space. It's
yeah,
magical, right? It was cool to be a part of, but of course, I got to
that's
get all
amazing.
nervous or whatever.
That's
So
how, that's how it works. I think it's because you realize the importance of the opportunity, no matter how small it may seem.
yeah,
I, I,
yeah.
I don't know. I think about that more and more as I get older. That
Hmm.
the opportunities that we have, as little as they may seem, the impact they truly have is just amazing. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Well, and the funny thing is though about those sorts of things when you try to I don't know, in those moments I feel like I want to say the right thing and do it the right way. And then it's always like that thing that you didn't plan to do
Mm, that's
that is
true.
like sometimes the thing that people like connect to more.
Yeah. Do you find that that happens when you just kind of let go of um, the script per se?
Hmm.
Or yeah, I
Yeah.
find that too when I'm speaking to group or doing any type of teaching. I always have my notes, but I find that when I allow me the opportunity to, when my mind goes, oh, tell this story or oh, go over here, that if I do that, a lot of times that really is where the impact comes from. All the other
Yeah.
information is good, but that seems to be the connection point for people.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I've had a lot of opportunity of telling my story over the years, whether it was as a person living with HIV when I was young, to now being a person in recovery. A big part of our, or even just being a spiritual person, a big part of what we do is we give testimony and we share our story.
yeah,
And once I got into like recovery, it was definitely suggested to me that like, don't think about what you're gonna say, just show up, pray about it, say a little prayer, show up, and then just trust that whatever's gonna be said is gonna be said. Because we could like think about it, like regardless of how old we are, our narrative is huge. So
it's
to try
true.
to talk about our story in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, like
Yeah,
it's impossible. So
you're right. You're right.
yeah. And sometimes I have to remind myself that the process is for me just as much as it is for other people, which
Oh, for
like
sure.
that's the magic of it, right? So it's like a if I can talk about what's relevant to me right now, that's
Hmm.
probably worthwhile, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And isn't that so funny how we go into a situation thinking that we're there to, I don't know, add something to someone's life, and
Mhm.
probably, but it's so amazing that there's definitely a give and take on both sides,
Yeah.
and that's amazing if we're open to it. If we're not, then sometimes we can miss something pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, we could get so caught up into having that experience and not even really pay attention to what happened with it, what could have
Right.
happened for you or what happened just in
To the
general.
people. Yeah, yeah, you're right. So, quick question. So
Uh-oh.
I heard you describe. No, you should be safe. I think you're safe. You should be safe. So I heard you describe things as cute. I've never heard cute used in that capacity. So was that just a slang that I'm not familiar with, or am I
I
missing an opportunity to use that word in another fashion?
I don't know. I just it's like a few years ago I just started using it kind of in usually I say it when I'm like usually I'll say it when I'm referring to like maybe a trait or something that
Okay.
I do that I'm not really proud of or like feels like it's like uh not age appropriate if you will maybe, and I'll say, "Oh, like that's not cute." As in, it's just not cute. Or
Yeah,
sometimes I'll just say it just because it is a little weird. Like it's not something you hear all the time. And so it just was something I just started using a few
that's
years
funny.
back. Yeah. I like
So
to
what
use
you're
random stuff.
saying but not saying is that you're a trendsetter,
No,
right?
no,
Uh,
I don't know about that.
Because I wonder now if people that you're either doing life with or people that are
Mm,
engaging with you will start to pick up that. Because I know I do that. If I hang out with someone long enough, I start picking up some of the things that they say. So that'll be
yeah.
funny. If I ever hear
No,
that from somebody else, I'm going to laugh hysterically, just so you
yeah,
know.
no, I definitely noticed other people saying it, or, I pick up what other people say all the time too.
Yeah, yeah. That's
But
why
I
they
guess,
tell us certain ways to speak when we're raising our children. Don't say that in front of your kids.
right.
I understand that now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They totally pick it up. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's so
That's funny.
subconscious. But I think
That's
it's
so
also a
funny.
way that we can like again, it's like how we tell people we hear you and we
Yeah.
see you. If we start using words that you use, as long as we're using it in a way that's endearing, sometimes you can
Right, right.
take it so far where you're like taking on somebody else's culture or something like that. But for the most part, it can be kind of a cute thing that you can, use to connect
Yeah,
with one another.
yeah, that's funny.
Tara, Tara, my cousin, she said, I say it too. Maybe it's an Idaho thing, LOL.
Oh, okay.
It could be.
So
It could be.
see, it's
Yeah,
happening. It's happening.
it's getting around. Well, I feel like it was really big a couple years ago, at least in my world. But
Oh,
who knows?
that's funny.
Um,
So isn't it interesting the things we pick up on? I'm like, oh, I don't think I've ever heard of, and you did it twice.
Oh,
I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to ask him about that because I
you're
am
like,
definitely missing something.
what is all that all about? Does that mean something? I don't know. Because
Yeah, I
there are
spent a
some
good
terms that
portion of
way.
my life hate being called cute.
Mm,
I was like, don't call me cute. I'm not cute. You don't get to
yeah.
call me cute. So that's just funny. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
Side
yeah. No.
side trail.
Yeah, no, and I like being able to kind of like flip things. But I think it's important for me to be like mindful of that too, you know, like if you know somebody's not really into that sort of thing, then it's like you know, you try not to refer to them in that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's funny.
Charlie says she says it to her kids all the time. Well,
Oh, so obviously I'm not hanging around with you and the kids much.
mm,
So
I
we'll have to
guess
remedy that.
that's what it is.
So anyway, so I'm going to laugh if I start saying it eventually, or if someone else says it to me, I'm just going to laugh. Anyway, just thought I'd ask.
Anyway, no, that's fine. I know
We just had
some of what we were going to try to do today was kind of maybe just ask some questions of one another. Anyway, and maybe even just kind of around I think a good place to start is like, why did we decide to identify ourselves the way we did when we like started the podcast as like a conservative Christian woman and a transgender queer drag queen? Like, what does that mean? What did that mean to us to like identify that way as part of this podcast? Or is it how we identify all the time? Or would we say, you know, like, I don't know, what are your thoughts on why you were, I remember wanting to like kind of put that label on you. Like, is it okay for me to say, like, would you say you're a conservative Christian, or like how would you label yourself? But I remember thinking like, is she not, like, how would she see herself?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I see myself differently every day, just based on, I don't know, what I'm doing, where I'm at, what I'm in pursuit of. But I think overall, the title or description that we put is pretty accurate. I'm pretty conservative, and which is, for those of you who've known me my whole life, that's probably weird because I wasn't always conservative. But I've
Well,
just go ahead.
I was going to say you weren't necessarily like the conservative one in the family
Oh, definitely not.
necessarily. I mean, you were always a
No.
church girl, but I don't
Oh,
know about.
not always. Well, I think that's all you remember about me. But yeah,
Right.
but I wasn't always conservative, and conservative in the fact of just the way I live my life, not politically.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm very much conservative, meaning that I am very conscious of how my life impacts people. I'm very conscious of what that responsibility is. When I do something or say something in a public setting of people that know me and may have a certain level of respect for me. So for me, that's what conservatism. I do have conservative beliefs based on my core values and who I
Mm-hmm.
am as a person and the kind of person I want to be and the spaces I want to go. So that conservative, I think, fits me well in that regard. That may change as I mature and grow, but right now I think that's a great space for me.
Mm-hmm.
Mature, not just gray, but mature. Although I think in the culture, mature, that's the first thing they equate with is older in age, and I think that can be true. But
Or
for me, I'm
wisdom.
or
Wisdom.
wisdom, and say that's what I can equate it with is wisdom. And when I say wisdom or maturity, I mean like third grade level wisdom because I still have a long way to go. But
Yeah.
I'm not kindergarten
Mm.
wisdom anymore. So mature is moving. So hopefully I'll begin to be more and more mature as I go. And of course, I'm a Christian.
Mhm.
I love Jesus. He's the leader of my life and my heart. I intend to spend eternity with him when that time comes. And I could known to be the local Jesus freak in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
Although all my neighbors still talk to me, so that's a good thing, right?
Right.
So yeah, but Christian, the is just being Christ-like. The whole desire of my heart is to be more like God or Jesus, and
Mhm.
that means walking in love and patience and kindness, and to be giving and also to be courageous and strong and full of wisdom. So,
Right.
so yeah, I think that describes kind of where I am and definitely where I want to be.
And
So,
is being conservative, would you attach that to the type of Christian that you are, or is that kind of not necessarily separate of, but in addition to being Christian?
I think so, because I think conservative can be, and that's why I clarified, conservative can be perceived as lots of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, the conservativeness that I attach myself to is based on my core values for the life that I choose to live. And so for me, that's what that means. For someone else, I know if in a political realm, it
Mm-hmm.
definitely puts you on a side of the line. So that a lot of people look at it like that. So yeah, I guess that's a good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah, well, and I know like a part of I think why I kind of wanted to play the identity cards, if you will, in getting the podcast going was just so that people could. I mean, I think that we're two people within the identities that we described ourselves as are maybe perceived to have not been like people who would hang out
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I get it.
or would get
And
along.
and that's I think that's because of how the culture dictates those categories that we put ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big line, and I know we've touched on it before, but a big difference between the culture that we live in and the space that we're called to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Because not always, sometimes, but not always, does our culture allow us the room to be kind and loving and gentle and respectful. You know, so I don't know. That to me is something that's very important to who I am. I always want to be in a place where I'm approachable, where I'm teachable, and where I can be around other people and learn and grow and encourage one another. So that's just very important to me. So how about
Yeah,
you? Tell us a little bit about why you chose the description that you did.
my labels, and
I hate that word labels. That's your
I,
self description of who
I
you are the day we decided what that was.
I know my
Maybe
identifier, however way
maybe
we
it's
want
even
to.
changed. Who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because I mean, my spirituality and my understanding is to really just get to a space where I'm completely integrated, and I really feel like identities can separate us. I think that they do form a function for us in the world that we're in, but I think that it can be limiting. And so, the older I get and the more I grow, the less like the more identities I kind of grow out of. Um, and so I guess for me, it's like those are the identities that I've really been trying to hold and kind of integrate into myself
Okay.
a little bit more so. So like being trans to me is, has to do with my gender identity, not identifying as being male, not identify as really being female, but somewhere in between. And or maybe I just don't feel like, I don't know. I just feel like it's not, it's, I want to say like not normal, but that's a bad word to use, but it's just,
Yeah, it is a bad
it, it doesn't fit into the stereotypical
Oh, that's good.
male or woman box, which really isn't real anyway, because there are lots of men, there are lots of women, and the way that you present and the way that you act and do things is different. But there is a perception of how men should be and what they should do, and what women are and what they should do and how they should act and blah blah blah. And so I don't feel like I fit into that
Into either one of those.
into either one of those. Yeah. And
So I just want to understand. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So you're trying to embrace that a little more, and become more that, right?
yeah,
Not
I mean,
trans or trans. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that trans.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I
Okay,
feel like for
okay.
me, it's a part of myself that has always been there. Like I wasn't meant to be the type of guy, say that, and I don't like say that my father was, or maybe even wanted me to be, right?
Or even say that culture tried to dictate you to be.
Culture. Yeah, we'll say that.
Yeah.
And so I think for a long time too, I just wasn't in a space and an environment in which I could really just let my spirit out, because I feel like my divine nature, like God, the God in me, like the spirit in me, like that's feminine to me. Like that's where my femininity, I don't know if that's where I hid it. I don't know if that's where it came from, but it wasn't allowed to be on the outside. And to me, femininity was like being soft, not being tough, or not speaking up loudly, or, you know, I had a lot of hand gestures and the ways that I positioned my body that were seen to be as more feminine than what men would do, so to speak. And so I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really interesting, but I just feel like for so much of my life, I haven't been in a space in which I could just show up however I want. You know, I don't know why I feel, you know, I don't know why I feel better this way. I don't know why I'm like, I love who I am, you know, in this way. But that's just what I know to be true. And I know that it's a gift of God, because until I started really having a spiritual life again, I never had the audacity, that word come to mind, to just be honest with who I am, and to do what I want, and to feel what I want, and to seek my desires, and that I have desires, and that I have wants, and to actually like really like go for them, like, and experience them, because for so long I just told myself I wasn't allowed to for a number of reasons, right?
Okay. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. So who knows where, and then the gender queerness is just an aspect of like, still not like, it's not like I'm feeling like I'm not a man. So like, I want to go, I'm not the stereotypical man, or the, you know, I wish there was better language, but I know that people know what I mean. Like, I didn't fit that man purse box. So it's not like I'm going to the woman box either, because I also, in my understanding too, I don't have the concept of what makes a woman and what makes a man a man. Right. A man is a man and a woman is a woman, and the things they do and how they do it is up to them. You know, that has nothing to do with whether they're a man or a woman. I mean, for some people, they might have a different sort of relationship with that, and that's fine. But so I think that's, for me, it's just like, I don't see myself being in either one of those boxes. And being I feel like I am more on the feminine side of things, but I'm also still, you know, I was assigned male at birth. So my body is a certain way. And so, yeah, I think for me, it's just, I don't know, I feel like I'm not really explaining it really well.
Okay. Can I ask you a question? It may not be an easy one, and I don't want to offend you, but are you changing one stereotype for another? Because I hear me my whole thought here, so that we can have a conversation. And I'm willing to have a conversation with anyone who wants to engage. Because I agree, there's definitely a culture of a stereotype that we have been raised in, and it has been kind of glamorized, or I don't know what that glamorized is probably not the word, or made solid in our minds by I don't know, Hollywood and all those things up to a point. You know, men were supposed to do this and that, and they were supposed to be tough and strong and don't cry and all these crazy things. Women on the other side were supposed to do, you know, all the cooking, the cleaning, the, you know, barefoot and pregnant, all that crazy stuff that came up. Right. So we know that none of those are real as far as genuine. It's just a stigma or a stereotype that was created, that was passed down from generation to generation to generation. Right. So that's not to say that there can't be women that are more masculine, that do different types of things. Right. That doesn't make them a man. That still makes them a woman that has the ability to respond and act and carry on a culturally different lifestyle than what we've been ingrained in to be. Yeah. You know, same thing with men. You know, not all men are strong and burly and weightlifters and timbermen and, you know, whatever. Some of them are very, very strong, very feminine, very soft, gentle, loving, and kind. And some of them are both.
Yep.
And so I think to stereotype one or the other in any aspect, or even to transition one to the other, I think we're selling ourselves short.
I agree.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I was always a tomboy. I was not that little girly girl. And for
Hmm.
the longest time, because my mama, is a girly girl.
Hmm.
And she didn't know what to do with it. Your mom was a tomboy also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she had a couple girly girls and she had two or three tomboys, and she wasn't sure what to do with those of us because we didn't like to paint our fingernails. We didn't like to put bows in our hair. We wanted to do other things. And
Hmm.
so I think that when we allowed to bloom the way we're
Right.
supposed to, but here's the thing, there's always going to be culture. And I think what's great about you and I, as different as we are, that we're both on a journey as to who we are.
Hmm.
And I'm so encouraged because the promise I read in my reference book, as you guys know, is my Bible. It says that if we seek, we're going to find.
Yep. Hmm.
And so as we seek the purpose that we have, if we seek the desire of the heart that God gave us, as we seek his will, it's going to be countercultural just by design.
Yeah.
And it's going to take on its own. The challenge we have to have is to not get caught up in cultural pockets along the way. And
Yeah.
I find myself, I do that sometimes. Like that whole conservative piece, that's a cultural
Hmm.
pocket that if I'm allowed to be shoved in there, I can be shoved in there in a cultural dynamic that only takes a small portion of who I am as my
Right.
values and shoves me in this big hole with all these other things that I have no intention of ever
Yep.
being a part of.
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
so yeah. So my question is, um, are you sure, and are you in a space where you're aware that you're not changing one cultural
Mhm.
stereotype for another cultural stereotype? Because I don't want you to settle
Right.
anywhere
So,
that you're not supposed to be.
yeah. So I'm aware. Um, am I still trapped in maybe identities that um, might not fit completely? Totally. You know.
Mm.
But I think that's what's caused me to be a little bit more reserved because it is an exploration, and
Mm.
because there is this combination of like, what is my heart telling me? What feels right? What's okay? Sometimes it's really not that serious, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but
you're right.
but it is, and then so it's like, or is it because of culture stuff? Is it because I was told this my whole life and I'm not this, so I have to be this? Or
Yeah,
because I say I'm this, then like, because like, and I think I've said it before, to be so it's like automatically if you're gay, automatically if you're trans, automatically if you're like whatever, you're automatically not conservative, not Christian, you're already kind of like godless, all that sort of stuff,
yeah,
right?
that's all
And
bogus.
it totally is, but it's like the stuff that we've been told, and like I know I came to believe
Yeah,
about myself because I let the world tell me who I was. So part of what I have to do is decipher who does God say I am, right?
amen.
And who do I want to be? And that's good too. And I do believe that what God wants for me is what I want for me. I haven't always lived my life that way, but I do believe that God and I are on the same page. And with God, I'm more likely to actually get the results that I want than when I'm just trying to get them on my own. Like I don't know how to achieve the results I want without God in my life, without like an actual relationship with God.
Right, I agree. And you know what? The here's the thing. We need to, and I think this is the transition point that we all experience in these different category description changes, labels, whatever you want to call them,
Mhm.
is that the desire of our heart is to serve our Creator. The Creator's heart is to serve alongside with us and to carry
Mhm.
us through. But here's the thing, we have to work through the process of aligning our heart and our desires with his heart
Right.
and his desires. And that's where the journey is. And
Uh-huh.
that's where we have to be careful not to get caught up on whatever stereotypes people have, no
Mhm.
matter what they are.
Yeah.
Just like you described. It's not. So yeah, I think that's all, and I think that's why you and I can come to the table, have these conversations. We've decided to set all these cultural stereotypes aside, love one
Mhm.
another, and just move forward and
Right.
encourage one another in that process. Because we are, at the end of the day, if we seek, we're going to find. So
Yeah. Well,
that's
and I
awesome.
think I think we both, in our own little ways, we've chosen not to just stay in our little boxes. You
That
know
is
what I
true.
mean? Like
Neither one of us are box people.
you're a bad Christian and I'm a bad queer. No, I'm just joking.
That's
You know what I mean? Like
all good.
in the sense that we're, willing to kind of challenge the status quo, if you will, within, because we both became dissatisfied with with where we were at and where we were going. Like I know for me, and I felt like I heard it from you in our conversations, that we had just kind of hit a plateau, being in the spaces we were, and with the people that we were, doing the same things, talking about the same things, reading the same things. Like it just kind of ruts place. Well, there's got to be more to this. Like there's got to be something different or more, because this is not like I want more. Like I want to experience more. I want to experience differently. And so I feel like that's also too what we have in common, is that we're both like really have that desire, that seeking to
absolutely
to just
we don't want to settle outside of our promise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going for it.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to love on people along the way. We want to grow and understand and gain wisdom along the way. We're willing to change our titles and to change our descriptions along the way so that we can move forward and be that person that we were created to be. And I think that's our common. The Bible says that deep recognizes deep. And I feel like that's our deep. And because that's our deep, none of this other stuff matters. It doesn't matter how old we are. It doesn't matter what position we are in life. All that matters is that we're recognizing that deep. We're pursuing and seeking the purpose that God has for us. And we're just moving past all these stereotypes, encouraging one another along the way. Because I know I get hung up sometimes. And I love that you can just say something and it moves me forward and it helps me to overcome whatever crazy I was going on in my mind. And I hope that there's been times I've been able to do that for you so that you can continue to move forward and move towards those things that God has for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, I think that's part of like, I think for me, that's part of the growth is like, so I think for so long, and I think we've said this, but it's that idea of like needing to connect on the sameness. Like, I feel like though that there has to be acknowledgement of the difference, and not only just an acknowledgement, but kind of a celebration and a seeing that that's a gift, right? That's their gift. That's not the same gift as mine. Right.
That's right. That's right.
And collectively we are the body of Christ. We are, like we're all our own parts. We all can't be the hand. We all can't be the foot. We all can't be the knee. Some of us need to be the lashes. I'm just joking. Or whatever.
You're doing that quite well, I might add.
I know. I was talking with somebody the other day who was in recovery, and we were kind of like talking about that idea of like oneness, that if we're all one, and then the thought of like, okay, the body analogy, if we're all one body, then as alcoholic and addicts, we're like, what part are we? And we're like, oh my God, we're the mind, which is scary because that's the scariest part of an alcoholic and an addict, at least in my experience.
That's funny.
Right.
And please don't get hung up on what body part you are, because that could be a whole nother set of counseling.
I know, right? Well, and I would think that I know that like, I would just think that I would hate to limit the idea that we're just part of a bigger body that looks like us.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. That's a great point.
I hope it's something a lot more sparklier.
Yeah, me too. I like sparkles. Oh, I sent you a picture of my boots. Very fun.
That was a good find.
That's a great find. So that's another deep recognizes deep. We have a similar level of sparkle, although I don't express it as well as he does online.
I just have mine on the outside. You have yours on the inside, because I will.
Thank you.
Yeah, because the thing that I always love is that when I call you, you are always like chipper. Like you are always like, you always sound so excited to hear me. And it's just like, it's just like, that's sparkle. I just put it on my arm, and that lifts people's spirit. I have a harder time sometimes doing it with my words in different ways, at least,
Yeah. It's all good. And that, like you said, that's what our unique differences are.
Yeah.
That's our unique differences are. It brings us to an amazing place together, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. How has this experience been for you with this being our last episode? Is there any surprises along the way or?
Um, no, not really. It's been a good experience for me, but I just love conversation.
Mhm.
Conversation with people that I care about is a bonus, but I just love talking to people. I love encouraging people. It's one of the things that I believe God's equipped me for. And so I've enjoyed that. And I just hope that what little bit of knowledge I've been able to share, a little bit of whatever I've been able to say over the last 12 weeks has been encouraging to someone or brought some sparkle to someone or lifted their spirits, made them laugh even for a moment.
Mhm.
Because, life is good. Life is good. And every opportunity we have to share it with someone else is definitely, I would consider a gift.
Mm.
And I don't want to take that lightly. So for me, this has been an incredible journey. And I thought it was going to be much harder than it was.
Mm.
And shame on me for thinking that. I thought there was a possibility that there were going to be people mad at me because of the description of who I am.
Mm.
And I'm grateful that that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are, I'm ready to have a conversation. And I want you to be able to have that conversation with me. And because I am here to just care, because I
Mhm.
care about what's happening to each and every one of you.
I've gotten a lot of messages saying, "Gosh, I love your aunt so much. You're so lucky to have her. I wish she was my aunt." Or
Oh,
I was like, "I
that's
know,
very kind.
isn't she great?"
That's very kind. Thank you
Yeah.
very
Well,
much.
I feel like that is a big part of our, yes, we put these labels on us, like for others to kind of connect with us, but also part of our goal was to also tell people that there's more to us than just
Yeah,
that, or just because that label's on us, that doesn't mean the questions stop there. It's like, just because
that's
you're
right.
a Christian, what does that mean to you? Like, it means something to you different than it might mean to me or somebody else. And so it's about encouraging people to continue the questions and not just like
That's
assume
right.
that because somebody has claimed this, or even like a lot of the times I think we just put labels on people.
Oh, you're right. And sometimes we do that before we even know them.
Oh yeah.
I, you know, I, I'm guilty, and I work on this daily. Why? How dare I have an opinion about someone I don't even know? And that's what it is. That's what a label is. It's an
Mm-hmm.
opinion,
Yep.
and we need to realize that it's an opinion that I have about this person. And if that label goes a step further and lines up with the culture around it, that can be devastating to people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we just need to not do that. So yeah,
Well, and
yeah,
I think it's a place that I can intellectually I can get it, and I can be working on like letting go of my identities and not getting caught up in that. But I also can have compassion and understanding, or sometimes I have a hard time with, like, I can have compassion and understanding for people who need to be in those identities in order to be safe and to heal and to thrive, to live. Like that. I know that for me, there was times when I needed all that, right? And so, and also I know how much has come out of being able to leave those as well. So it's always
yeah.
like this interesting balance of having compassion for people in where they're at and in their situations. And then also like, then how can we help people move past that as well, so that we don't just, you know, settle in our
Hmm.
little boxes and not really, I think, take advantage of everything that like God or life has in store for us. Because
Yeah,
I believe we're meant for more than that.
yeah, yeah. You know that we've talked about this before. Ephesians tells us far more than we can think or imagine.
Hmm.
And so,
Thank God,
yeah, for
because
real. And
I have a great imagination, but
me
not that
too.
great.
And I'm
Not that
excited about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's even better than that.
great.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever just, and if, for those of you who are a little less creative, I encourage you to do this. Have you ever just sat and thought about stuff? I mean, just sit and just set a
Never.
timer for 30 seconds or for a minute and
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I just want to think now about the most, whatever it is. If it's something that a situation you're in that you're trying to get out of, if it's a goal you've had or a dream you've had, just sit and think about it. Do that
Mm-hmm.
for 30 seconds or a minute, and then take the next 30 seconds or a minute and write down whatever comes to your mind about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then just know. And if you don't want to read it for yourself or you have never heard it, just hear my voice saying, it's far more than that.
Right.
So make sure you let your mind go crazy on all this stuff. Let the sparkle be everywhere,
Mm.
and just know that it's even more than that. And the only thing we have to do is to pursue it daily, be kind and loving and generous, do the best you can, and walk in discernment as we move forward. And don't allow, especially negative or cultural labels,
Mhm.
to steal from you,
Yeah.
because I think we do that.
Yeah. Or even your own negative things. I mean, I
Yes,
think all of us have done something wrong at some point in time in our
yes,
life.
we have.
And
Maybe
like,
even today.
right. Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, I think we act like that's not like that's just not, I don't know, like that's not right, or somehow that makes us like bad or horrible or something. But
Yeah.
I've been listening to this podcast called The Confessional, and
Oh,
it's a pastor, Nadia Boltz Webb. Anyway, she interviews people and they give confession basically. And so
oh,
they confess about different things that they had done um, in their life. Everything from like, like there was one where this guy was driving a car and he killed a person who actually was trying to commit suicide by jumping
oh
into
my
his car,
goodness.
and kind of talking about how that impacted his life. And there was just like a lot of these different sorts of things, but there was, in hearing their side, and it was a sense of they were owning it. It wasn't like don't feel bad for me because I made this like horrible decision, but yeah, I did. And then like, what do I do about like, well, one, you have to bring it to light. Like I do believe we're only as sick as our secrets. And so
Mm,
like we do have to share those sorts of things with people. And usually when we do, we realize that we're not the only one. We're not the only one who's
yeah.
had a similar experience in one way or another, or that sort of thing.
And
Um,
that's the power that comes with our testimony. I will
mhm.
say one thing to add to that. Said a testimony or a confession, as it may, you need to do that with discernment and with wisdom,
Yep.
because that is something that can be hurtful and harmful to you, but it's also could be a treasure under the covering of God, because those
Mhm.
things can build character. But if you expose it in areas where it can be used against you, then that can be debilitating to you.
Yeah.
So that's really important. And I think you're you've made some great points. We have to remember that those things help us to build character.
Mm.
If we didn't have any hardships or anything negative ever happen to us, we would have horrible character. I know I would. I,
Right.
I would probably be an arrogant person that no one could ever talk to, you
Mhm.
know? So we have to have those things so that they can build character and make us stronger and move us forward, so that we have the ability to be compassionate and loving and kind to the people that God are going to put around us.
Yeah.
And give us understanding in that regard. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's what makes us human. That makes us not God, is that
absolutely.
we're going to make those mistakes. I don't think that those mistakes are created so that we can have character, but I think that if we respond to the situations, it can be an opportunity for us to build character, if you will, or to
Mhm.
grow from, or whatever, because
Yep, absolutely.
not all of us choose to do that. I don't think, yeah, I just don't think that it's like intentional. Like I know like some people
Yeah.
have this perception that people believe that God is like, okay, I'm gonna like cause this car to hit you
Oh yeah. No, no,
so that
God
you
doesn't do that.
learn to be have gratitude for walking. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't, that's not what we're saying. Like they're not saying that that's what
Right, right.
happens or that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for, yeah, you're right. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah. But it's kind of like for me, the idea is like, oh yeah, but you do get hit by cars, or you got hit by a car.
Hmm.
And because you got hit by the car, you can choose to you can have a different response to it. And like for me, if I can bring spirituality, my understanding of God, my whatever into that situation, then it can become, I can find the good in it and I can focus and move forward with that, rather
Yeah.
than being stuck in the the not good. And
Right, right.
I even hate using the word good and bad, because I feel like it just is. Like things just are. Um, but I do know that we do tend to label things good and bad for
Yeah,
whatever reason.
yeah.
Um, but I
You're
think
right.
that can also be limiting.
It can be because good and bad is relative to your perspective.
Hmm.
It is.
Yes,
It truly is. It's relative to your perspective. I also
that's
want to remember that in the middle of circumstances, positive or negative, I know that I struggle with having a desired outcome, and I think that
yeah.
desired outcome is okay to a point, but that outcome may come different than what we expect it to. I'm a very systematic, okay, this is what my end result is. So this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And then sometimes these things in the middle don't happen.
Right.
And so sometimes I feel like that I'm missing the end result. And then when I finally walk through that circumstance, whatever it is, I end up at the same result.
Mm.
And I think, oh, see, I fretted so much that it was not going away that I could have potentially missed some of these things along the way that could have helped me be stronger coming out the backside.
Hmm.
So,
Indeed.
yeah, it's all purposeful. We just have to not get hung up on that in the middle. I know that's easier said than
Mhm.
done, but coming from some experience of some pretty crazy things, and you coming from the experience of some pretty crazy and even horrific things, we're here to tell you that you can do it.
Right.
You can
There's
do
life
it.
after.
That's right, and it's potentially amazing on the other side.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're here to be your cheerleaders. Go get
Definitely.
'em.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing is just to show people that it exists, like it's
Yeah,
possible. Like
yeah,
it's just possible, because I think for so long, I mean, I think that's what I love about the fact, like one of the things that's not so great about like internet and technology and like social media is like one of the great things is people can see that you can exist differently. There
yeah.
are different ways to see things and live and be, and you can choose, rather than maybe having to stay where you were or what you've been
Absolutely.
told. And also, that comes with some other things as well. You can kind of
Oh,
you could potentially lose yourself in all that,
you sure
um,
can.
too. So I think that's a big thing for me. Like you asked me kind of where I was at with that as far as like falling into a stereotype or that sort of thing. And I think I'm just at that space of discerning, okay, what is it that I want,
Mm,
regardless of what everyone else is thinking. And
right.
that's like the really hard part, I think, especially when part of your existence is, or your exploration is on the outside. So it's like, um, I'm not going to exist like this just in my room by myself, and not be in the world and be happy and content. Like I want and I have a desire to be in community with people, but my
Yeah.
existence in the form that I am creates challenges in some situations. Like people just don't know what to do with me, and
Mm,
that's okay. But it's also can be, sometimes that can cause me just not to be, because I don't want to go through that awkwardness, or that,
yeah.
like, I don't want it to be a thing. you know it's like I want to, like, some days I want to, like, if I like decided I wanted to go out and walk the streets like this because I wanted to, I don't I don't necessarily, like, even people just like, and I think women get this a lot, like, just like telling you how great you look, or like blah blah blah, blah, things like that. It's like I didn't do this to go like actually I don't want you to comment on the way I look. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's times when I love that and I want that, and then there are other times when I was like, I just want to, like, I'm just another person here. And I don't, like, you didn't read that person about what they're wearing. Why are you know what I mean? Like there's sometimes you just want to exist and
Yeah.
not be, I don't know.
Evaluated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hard thing though. I think we all go through that. You know,
Hmm.
when I go out looking fantastic, I get looks and I get people saying and not saying. When I go out looking frumpy, same
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So yeah, so it's like we just have. I think there's certain aspects of things we just have to endure,
Totally.
that we can't get out of, and that's why I think where it comes from our own mindset as to who we are, what we're doing, how we live. It's amazing to me how the minor, is that a word? Minorist? Is that a word? Okay, how about little things?
Mhm.
How such little things can have such an effect on my thought process.
Mhm.
These little things, they can either derail me to a negative side or they can shoot me over the top to a positive side. And I've been real conscious of some of those things. And a lot of those things aren't even about what other people have said to me or evaluated me or even looked at me. Some of that stuff I bring on myself. And because of an area that maybe I feel inadequate or feel subconscious about, or, whatever. Let me show you a funny story, if you don't mind, just real quick.
Oh,
Little tiny thing stole my whole opportunity to love on my neighbor. So I live in an area in my community. I live in a cul-de-sac, and our neighbors are amazing. We love each other. We're outside almost every day having a conversation while the kids
mhm.
are running around on their little bikes out there. So one day I'm out there and talking, and it dawned on me. I have Invisalign for my teeth because I have a gap that I'm trying to fix. And for whatever reason that morning, I don't even know what I was thinking, I added some turmeric to my coffee.
Mm.
Okay. It tastes yummy for anyone who wants to try it. It's yummy, but it made my Invisalign yellow.
Mhm.
Well, anyone who knows, I have to wear these for a couple days in between before I get new pairs. So I had 2 days of yellow teeth.
Ah.
So I had forgotten that my teeth were yellow. I mean, they were like yellow, like, ew, I don't think that lady brushes her teeth yellow.
Mhm.
So most of the time it was fine because I have a face mask on. Well, we're out
Right.
out in my yard talking to my neighbor, and all of a sudden, to my mind, nobody said a word to me. So
Right.
I'm like, oh, my teeth are yellow. I should stop talking.
Right.
It just dawned on me, oh my gosh, my teeth are horribly yellow. She's going to think she never said a word to me. She's talking away, blah, 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 not saying a
Right.
word
Right.
about my yellow teeth. And here I am in my head. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, she must think I'm so gross because so then I felt like I needed to explain it to her. She doesn't care if I put turmeric in my coffee.
Right.
So it made the whole situation awkward. Now, here's the worst part of it. She was trying to share something with me about her day, and I was so caught up in my teeth being yellow that I couldn't respond to her in a positive, encouraging way
Yep.
because I couldn't get past that my teeth were yellow.
Mhm.
Kind of dumb, I know, but it's those little things that
Yep.
can derail that opportunity where we have to either be blessed or bless somebody else or be a part of something bigger than
Right.
ourselves.
And that probably speaks to something bigger
Yeah,
if we
for
were to
sure.
really look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to do
Yes.
that right now because it could be embarrassing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the only thing I just want to bring up too is some of the things we don't sometimes have power over, and so there sometimes are safety concerns about existing in
Yeah.
certain places in certain
Oh,
ways,
absolutely.
all that sort of stuff, as well. We are it's almost done.
Oh my goodness.
Season 1 is almost done.
12 weeks. Wow, I'm
I
going to
know.
miss everybody.
I know, right? Well, I'm not going to miss you because we're still going to get together.
Oh, we are. We are.
Yeah, we just won't. Everyone else will
It,
just have to.
I will say it's different though because you don't always dress up for just me.
Oh no, I
And
usually
sometimes we just do a conversation on the phone so I don't get to see you. So it'll be a little different.
don't. Right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and just for I guess for folks, because we just have a few more minutes, just to let folks know, we are planning on taking a little break,
Yeah.
probably at least I'm thinking probably into mid-January or February. I don't know. What do you
Okay.
think?
Yeah. Well, I think we can talk about it some more. You guys watch our
Right.
Facebook. We'll
Yeah.
post some stuff on
Keep an
there so that
eye
you
on
guys
your
can know what's going on. Yeah.
um, and yeah, so definitely subscribe to either the YouTube channel or the podcast. If you subscribe to the podcast, then you'll get notified that way, or if you subscribe on our any of our social medias.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things that I would encourage you to do, that I think a lot of folks have been, and that's one of the things that I've really loved about, we hope that people would hear this and take something from it. And I just am constantly encouraged when hearing stories of people who have who are listening or listened once and took something from it. And so please do feel like if this is something that you have enjoyed, you have found helpful or useful, to
Yeah.
please share it with other people, so that they can hear it as well. I mean, that's my biggest wish, is that
Yeah.
if you do find this useful, to please share it with others that you think might as well, and to continue to have the conversations within your own families, and would love to hear about how things have been going for you as well, if
Yes, we
you've
will.
been daring enough to start sitting at the table.
Yeah. 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 That's our whole goal here is restoration. We
Mhm.
know that there's a lot of families that have been torn apart, but by lots of different things. And we're just addressing a few. But we just want to encourage you to trust who you are, trust the space where your life began with your family, and work towards it. We're available. We're available, even though we won't be being live every week.
Right.
Reach out to us on one of our social platforms. One of us will respond.
Mhm.
If you guys have things that you would like us to talk about, or even specific things that you think maybe we've gone through or that we need to share with you guys in season 2, let us know,
Yeah.
because we want to be open. We want to share. We're still growing. So I'm sure there'll be opportunities where those experiences that you're going to share with us are going to be helpful to us and
Okay.
move us forward also. So we really, with the best of our ability, want to create an open conversation and just do life together.
Mhm. Yeah, let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like.
Yeah.
Everything from like, gosh, you guys talk too long, or gosh,
Yeah.
you guys need to talk more, or I would love to hear more of this, less of that, or like, any of that sort of stuff will just kind of help us. I mean, we're going to go
Yeah.
through our own process of discerning what's going to make the most sense for us to go into season 2, but we'd love to hear, how you all have been experiencing it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And in the meantime, too, if you like this sort of conversation and stuff, you might like some of the other work that I do with a queer chaplain. So there is a podcast called A Queer Chaplain as well. And if you follow any of my socials, you'll also see like some other series around interviewing drag queens and talking about their spirituality,
Yeah.
and faith leaders, about how they're, leading and creating space in 2020, and kind of the interesting kind of dynamics and situations that are kind of changing the way that church
Yeah.
and spiritual care is happening. So those are some ways to, I guess, stay connected until we're able to get the second season up and going.
Yeah. Also, during the holiday season, I like to celebrate Christmas, and I was asked to participate in a Christmas program on a podcast called Women of Responsibility.
Mhm.
I will be sharing a passage out of Luke and have an interview with Ree. She's the host there. So check out that podcast. That's a great podcast. And I'm not sure which day yet I'll be on there, but
What
hey,
was
watch for me.
what was the name again?
It's called Women of Responsibility.
Okay, great. And people can find that wherever they listen to podcasts.
Yep, wherever they listen to podcasts. And there's
Okay.
also a Facebook page there as well that'll help you get started if you need some
Okay.
assistance on finding that.
All right, and we can definitely post it in the comments and or in the description, wherever
Absolutely.
people are watching this as well. And just I'll also include the link for the confessional, which is the
Yeah.
podcast that I mentioned earlier. And then one other podcast that I would like to kind of put out there as well is there's a podcast called This Little Light of Mine,
Oh,
that was created by James Powell in Canada. And he's actually going to be a guest on the Queer Chaplain podcast on December the 23rd. But
mm,
he was part of the first group of people to start an LGBTQ affirming Baptist church. And so he'll be talking a little bit about that, but he kind of talks about his experience of kind of growing up gay and fundamentalist Christian environments, and how he's kind of reconciled and healed from his experience with that as a gay man. So it's a pretty powerful series.
it sounds awesome.
And I apologize for the the noise that has come through a couple of times, because my notifications ah came didn't get turned off.
It's all good.
All right. So do you want to say, like, we have one person saying, Angel saying, looking forward to hearing his experience. Yes, it'll be great.
Yes.
I'll also include the link as well. So thank you, everyone who has come along with us on this journey.
Yes. Thanks so much.
It's been really great, and I'm really excited for the next season. Have a happy holiday season, whatever you celebrate.
Yes.
Stay connected, reach out to the ones you love, and just, I don't know, be kind to one another. Tina, did you want to say
Yeah.
anything?
And don't forget, we care about what's happening to you. So have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll talk to you sometime next year.
All right. For the final time, season 1, here's our outro. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Splintered Grace Podcast is brought to you by a queer chaplain. Follow us on all of our social medias, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at A Queer Chaplain. Listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Feel free to tip us at Venmo, Bonnie Violet, and support monthly on Patreon. The song is original by Steven Sandnoff, The Chasm Between Us. Rest in peace, Steve.